Welcome to the Darkstream. Happy New Year. Voxday.net and unauthorized.tv. So this is the first stream of 2024. Seems a little odd to be saying that. I still remember being a kid and calculating that I was going to be, 32 when in the year 2000. So it seems crazy to be at this point. It still feels kind of like 2005, 2006 should be the right number. But anyhow, that's that's age for you. Anyhow, audio is good, video is good. Dave in Oakland wishes everyone Happy New Year. So I've been a bit under the weather for the past few about a week or so. Didn't get it as badly as most, but enough just to sort of, you can probably hear just a little bit of it in my voice. But you know, back at the weights, back recovered, and just about to get started on the little rehab program for the knee that I dinged at the end of last season. So we're all gearing up. Right now, I'm working on the cleaned up edition of A Sea of Skulls. I don't know if any of you have read it yet, but the general impression from the first couple reviews that have trickled in are pretty positive. The most important thing from my perspective is that people who like the first book, Throne of Bones, seem to feel that A Sea of Skulls is on a comparable level. And so that was, the primary goal. There's nothing I hate more than an unbalanced series, where you've got one good book and, a not so good book, a boring book, and then another good book, that kind of thing. Or, although I suppose that's better than what George Martin delivered, which is a very good, interesting book, and then one that was pretty much on the same level, but a little bit more predictable, and then just consistently and steadily downhill until he just stopped writing them. It's actually it's a really fascinating and very brutal challenge to try to write an epic fantasy series. You can't possibly understand how difficult it is, even if you're an author, even if you've written a novel or six. The difference between writing an epic fantasy novel and a regular novel is pretty equivalent to the difference between writing a short story and writing a novel. I mean, that may sound like an exaggeration, but it really isn't. Anyhow, it's neither here nor there, just updating you as to what's been going on. I do have one announcement I'll make tonight. We haven't made a final decision on the new Castalia library book, but we do have book 4 in the Castalia history series to announce, and that is Studies in the Napoleonic Wars by Sir Charles Oman. We're gonna publish it in a bigger book than this, so it'll look easier to read and fit better on the shelf. But this is a fascinating history book, and it's a collection of about 13 different essays relating to different aspects of the Napoleonic War. It's got some fascinating vignettes. It's got Napoleon's cavalry, the Duke of Wellington as prime minister. There's even a fascinating study of a English spy in the Napoleonic era. And probably my favorite is about he has a defense of military history, which I think is very timely and appropriate to the series. And then Column and Line in the Peninsula, which is a really interesting discussion of why the English line was more successful than the French column, which hitherto had been, triumphing over all Europe. So anyhow, it's a, you know, I personally find the Peninsular War to be the most fascinating aspect of the Napoleonic Wars. Um, it's not it's not a section of military history that I know that much about. I was always a lot more of a medieval, Renaissance, World War II guy. I never got into playing Napoleonics or any of the various battles, Waterloo, Austerlitz, etc., etc. But um, but after first reading Oman's history of the Peninsular War, which I've now read most of it twice, um, I really respect Oman as a historian. Don't always agree with him, of course, but I think it's going to be a fantastic addition to the Castalia history subscription. We're actually completely sold out on the subscription, um, unless they happen to print a few extras or bind a few extras. So um, we're going to bump. We're actually already having to bump the production number up to 600 from the previous 500. In terms of the binding, everything's been delivered. Everything's been delivered for well over a month. We were hoping that they would get them in the schedule before the end of the year, but books 2 and 3 are being bound the first week of February. So the two volumes of the Cambridge Medieval History, and we've just printed. It took a while to find the right place to print and source the paper because Thucydides is big. So we got that sourced. It's been printed. It's been shipped to the States, and so that is underway as well. We'll give you a date when we have it, but we're on top of it. Everything's going well, and these are going to be some of, I think, our most attractive books. So, and books is really kind of the starting point for what I wanted to talk about tonight. Um, I talked about the need to do something about Amazon, and I talked about what Amazon is in the process of doing, and how I believe that what's already in process at Amazon is going to do to audiobooks and to print books what Kindle Unlimited has already done to ebooks. And this is going to be absolutely devastating to publishing companies, independent authors. It's not going to harm us at all. It's not going to harm Castalia at all, because one of the big advantages we have, and something that I was talking to a friend recently, something that I'm very, very grateful about, is we had to adjust to some of the harsh realities of business in the 2020s before everybody else did. There were actually people who were mocking us when we set up Unauthorized as a subscription service. Like, how can you do subscription? You need to do it free. You need to do eyeballs. How can you possibly, limit your streams to people? You need to put them on YouTube and build up a big, huge following and all this sort of thing. Well, now YouTube itself has subscriptions. Netflix, Disney Plus, all of these streaming channels are severely struggling, and they're all trying to convert to what we already do. And so let's see. Well, the audio should be fine on this end. If my voice might be going in and out, that might be the problem, Bright Raven Bear. Anyhow, if you look at how things are changing, what we're all learning is that you cannot depend on anybody else's platform, for various reasons. We had to learn it very early on and the hard way because the people that controlled the platforms didn't like us. That's where we got the name unauthorized from. They didn't like Owen, they didn't like me, they don't like Razorfist, they don't like Chuck Dixon, etc., etc. And so because of that, we had to learn to build up our communities, build up our platforms, operate on a shoestring, and do everything ourselves. And so this has turned out to be a massive, massive advantage. Rainline says, I can never get Razorfist videos to play without buffering, though. Yeah, the problem with Razorfist videos is it's higher res, and so we need to improve our infrastructure so that we can, like YouTube does, reduce the stream quality a little bit, so that it focuses on streaming smoothly. But we'll get there. I mean, we will get that done this year, just not in the next few months. So, Bright Raven Bear says, it's the rage causing the needle to skip. Drop Bear points out, just like you can't depend on other people's computers, right? You can't depend on the cloud. And Amazon Prime just announced ads. You're paying a subscription, and they're still making you watch ads. I mean, it's just like cable. When cable first came, was first introduced, HBO and all that, the big advantage of it was that it didn't have ads. You're paying a subscription, so you don't need to pay ads, or you don't need to watch ads. And sure enough, it wasn't long before. I mean, it took a few years, but I remember being kind of shocked when I saw my first ad on a cable station. I was like, can they do that? Like, why would they do that? They don't need to do that. They're already getting paid. But that's the reality. And so, thanks to you guys, thanks to the subscribers, we're able to do this. And, we haven't built it up as much as I would have liked to have built it up, but we have done a lot of stuff behind the scenes that makes it a lot more solid. So now we've got multiple sets of servers. We've got redundancy. If a server on one continent goes down, the other one picks it up seamlessly. So like right now, I think Owen's streaming right now. I'm streaming here. We can handle more traffic than a lot more than we need to at the moment, which is great. Now it'd be good for us to build up. We've been flat for about a year and a half. But we haven't really done anything to try to grow it either. So 2023 was really a year of stabilizing and reinforcing the infrastructure. Hopefully in the second half of this year, you're going to start seeing a lot more features, positive changes and so forth. But one of the things that makes it hard, one of the things that makes structural change in the way that things are needed very hard, is because the inertia of the public, the inertia of the book buyer, the inertia of the person who watches videos online is incredibly difficult to move. It's like trying to turn an oil tanker or an aircraft carrier. It's just very difficult to get people to adjust. One of the reasons we were able to get the community to react quickly in the beginning was because that was the only choice. We weren't given a choice. Owen gets kicked off of YouTube. We have to do something. I get kicked off Twitter. We have to do something. But what do you do when you don't have to do it? But you know you should because of stuff coming down the road. Well, here's the problem, and this is what I learned in spending the last month or so talking to people, talking to publishers, talking to authors, talking to printers, um, all of whom are definitely worried about the consequences of what Amazon is doing. And what Amazon is doing is reducing the audiobook and reducing the printed book to the lowest possible quality, to the absolutely cheapest level, in order to switch it to a subscription model. Now, they already have the subscription model in place for audio. They already have obviously the subscription model in place on ebooks. They don't really have it on print books yet, but I believe that's going to happen. And for those of you who are younger who don't believe that it's possible, I've got two words for you. Actually, just to be more clear, I'll say four words. Science Fiction Book Club. I used to belong to the Science Fiction Book Club. It wasn't about a book club in the sense of discussing books. It was a book club in the sense of you subscribe to the Science Fiction Book Club. They would just send you books and you could send them back right away, or you kept them and then they billed you for them. And so every month they'd have a little catalog come out and they would tell you about what the books were. And when you subscribed, you were allowed to choose, like, you can choose 5 books or something like that. And they had good books. I still have some of the Science Fiction Book Club books that I have, or that I bought back when I was in like high school. And the quality was very low. They did sell hardcovers, but they had paper that was just slightly thicker than that of a Bible. And you had to be careful with the dust wrappers because they would tear very, very easily. In fact, most of the book club books that I still have, the dust wrappers are long gone. But the point is that what I'm suggesting that Amazon's going to do, call it Paperbacks Unlimited or Books Unlimited or whatever they end up calling it, it's going to be based on that whole we will send you books, you will pay us monthly, and that's what you'll read. And you might say, well, who on earth is going to sign up for that? And the answer is the exact same type of people who sign up for Kindle Unlimited. You'll still, quote unquote, be able to buy whatever you want, but the reality is that that's the same as with the audiobooks. You can buy whatever audiobook you want right now, but not enough people do, because most people approach books in much the same way that they approach movies, Netflix, television, fast food. McDonald's is terrible food. It's not good. I mean, it doesn't even taste good. Even at the lowest level of only comparing fast food. So you take money out of the equation. You take convenience out of the equation at the very lowest level. Why would you ever eat a McDonald's hamburger? At that level, and forget the fact that obviously Taco Bell is vastly better and cheaper, but Burger King is much better than McDonald's. You're just basic. I mean, sometime get a Burger King cheeseburger and a McDonald's cheeseburger. take a bite of each. It's not even close. And I'm not a big Burger King fan or anything. I'm saying at the very lowest possible level. Compare a chicken nugget to an actual chicken finger at Burger King. You know, I mean, and don't even get me started on the abomination that is the Egg McMuffin. That's that's not even. I mean, compare the taste of an Egg McMuffin to just an egg and a piece of white bread, Wonder Bread toast at home. It's it's terrible, and yet it's massively popular. Or not pop. Yeah, it is massively popular. Billions and billions of dollars go toward to let people eat that stuff. Sleep deprived Bear wants to confirm that the Burger King cheeseburger is better than McDonald's cheeseburger. So, um, Blitzkrieg Bear says, "I can only taste the tomato the last time I had a Whopper." No, well, the thing is, um, you can actually taste the beef. Like, I'm not sure what is in the McDonald's meat. Um, I mean, I'm assuming it's a beef basically, but um, it's kind of like when we first moved to Europe, the you dreaded the idea of being stuck having a burger here because they put like spices and stuff in the meat, and it was just so bad. I mean, like we're talking school lunch hamburgers. No, we're talking worse than school lunch hamburgers in the 80s. I'm with Verita. He says the fillet of fish will always be the greatest of all time. I do like the fillet of fish. I do like the fillet of fish. I don't like the cheese and the tartar sauce. This may sound a little strange, but uh, I like my fillet of fish with nothing on it. Yeah, Five Guys, Culver's. eh. Um, but again, I'm not saying I'm not saying Burger King is good. I'm saying that I'm going to the lowest possible level of comparison to point out just how bad it is, and yet how many people are content with that. You know, me personally, if I'm going to have a hamburger, then what I want is I want uh, a a local cow, you know, grown by a farmer. The meat's fresh and ground up and grilled on a grill. Um, I mean, you can't with bacon on top, bacon and Emmental on top, and you know, I'm saying that most people, and Amazon understands this, most people are 100% content with the cheapest possible crap you can provide them with. And I'm not criticizing those if that's, you know, if the if the cheapest thing is all you can afford or whatever, that's fine, you know. But what I'm saying is that for the average individual out there, probably the cheapest possible crap is good enough for around 80% of the population. That's why travel sucks, you know. Um, it's just the way that it works. I mean, look at everything from look at massive multiplayer online games. I've said this before. Fortnite is the most cynical game design ever released. It's more cynical than 20 porn-based games. Because the dream, the goal, the objective of every uh, game designer was to do something cool and new and different. And we thought we we used to talk about how amazing it would be when you could play in the same environment. I mean, when it became possible to play network Doom, two of my friends and I literally taught ourselves how to install a network from scratch. We went out and bought Netgear or Net something or other cards, put them in, installed the whole thing. Novell, that was it. Novell cards. We installed a whole Novell network at the house just so we could play Network Doom. And I remember that first time being in there and seeing my friend wearing a green Doom Marine outfit, seeing him in the game, and it was just mind-boggling. I mean, when we did Rebel Moon Rising and had the network play, it was just so amazing to be able to do that. But unfortunately, what what happened was that everything was designed to the lowest common denominator. And we found out that everybody just wanted to run around like chickens with their heads cut off. So Fortnite was the first game that was designed to basically just let people run around like chickens with their heads cut off. It was the guys at Epic just saying, you know what, screw it. We'll give them what they want. And they were right to do so. In fact, I do have a little project, which I'll just mention, that we do have a little network game that a programmer and I are working on. We'll let you guys into it in a bit. And the idea is to design something that is going to be the ultimate networked fantasy battleground game. The best gaming experience I've ever had personally was World of Warcraft Alterac Valley. You can't play that. It's just not possible. And so this is just a little, project of pure love that we're doing, and it's a chance for me to get my fingers back into dabble in game design and so forth. And so it'll be interesting to see if people enjoy playing it or not, because it's going to be very different in some ways than anything that's ever been designed before, because we're going to do exactly what we're doing with Castalia. We're going to do exactly what we're doing with Unauthorized, and that's not even attempt to appeal to the masses. And the reason that's so important is that in this day and age, because of the internet and the way that the economics of the internet and the marketing realities of the internet work, everybody that is playing for the big numbers is following that same trajectory of Amazon. It's basically a world of crap. Everybody wants to appeal to the 80%, and they're driving everything down to the lowest level possible. People, a lot of authors have complained about the Create Space books, the KDP paperbacks and the KDP hardcovers, and it's because Amazon is buying the cheapest possible paper, using the cheapest possible ink, and that's what is inevitable. And we're seeing this same drive to the lowest possible level of mediocrity everywhere, in everything. And so what we're doing, and the reason that Castalia is doing well, Castalia, every single aspect of Castalia's business, except for audiobooks, grew anywhere from 100% to 150%. And it's actually beginning. Word about Castalia is beginning to percolate out very, very slowly. We're not pushing anything because we're not ready yet, but it's beginning to percolate slowly out into the larger book collecting world because the quality, people are hearing about that. They're seeing it. They're saying, hey, this is actually the kind of stuff that we want. But that's a tiny, tiny aspect of the book market. Now it's fine for us, you know. I mean, but we could grow by a factor of 10 and we would still be absolutely nothing compared to, you know, the kind of stuff that Amazon's doing. Joseph says, do you think Julian LeFay and Ted Peterson's new game will deliver? I have no idea, but I know Julian. In fact, I actually talked to him 3-4 years ago. He's a great designer, but he's a great producer. I actually hired him to be the lead producer on Traveler when we were working for Sega. So I've worked with him, and he's an impressive guy, and I like him a lot. But the world has changed a lot. And so the question is, I mean, he's able to do a very good quality game. Whether he's able to do a very good quality game that is capable of being successful today, I don't know. I'm actually doing, I'm not going to name any names, other than to say that you would absolutely recognize the guy's name, but I'm actually doing a little bit of consulting work for one of the most successful developers in the world. Just somebody that I'm friends with. He needed a little bit of design help on some stuff. I just said, hey, I'd love the chance to actually get to do a little work with you. So it's nothing major, nothing too difficult, but it's just fun to be able to do that. Anyhow, and so we'll have to we'll have a couple dev streams once the little the multiplayer battleground game gets to the point. We have, just so you understand, we're doing this so old school, it's not even funny. Larry Dynamite Bear says, every nurse I work with is reading Dragon Fantasy Romance knockoff series. That's so funny because, what they're really ripping off, all those things that they're ripping off, is an essentially forgotten series written by Melanie Ron. And to a lesser extent, I guess you could say it even goes back to Anne McCaffrey. But Dragon Fantasy is, the Kindle Unlimited genre du jour that Amazon is pushing right now. And so, anyhow, I don't think that, I mean, good for them. It's better than what do they call it? There's like a harem fantasy thing that was going around about 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. It was around the time that the whole like Chuck Tingle gay dinosaur porn thing was happening, and the my billionaire werewolf boyfriend type thing. The point is that it's all utter crap, and there's no point chasing that. Better than watching reality TV? Well, yes. Well, actually, no. Let me back up. It depends what the reality TV is. If it's a cooking show, there's nothing wrong with cooking shows. I mean, I still think that the peak of the cooking show was, of course, Fukui-san, Iron Chef. Um, and so, no, this has nothing to do with Patreon. Um, anyhow, the thing is that when the world moves towards mediocrity, that's the best time possible to pursue excellence. And that's what I'm going to start doing. On the video side, my goal is to do 1 or 2 Voxiversities a month. My goal is to complete the SSH book this year, and also get started on Drumwell. I've already told you the name. I've also gotten started on A Grave of Gods, which is the third and final book in Arts of Dark and Light. And I'm not going to finish that this year, obviously, but it's going to be, that's the goal, is to pursue excellence to the greatest degree possible. Castalia history, I can tell you right now, we're already upping our game. You haven't even seen the first Castalia history book yet, and we've got 2 major series that we've already agreed to terms with the publishers. We don't have the contracts yet, which is the only reason I haven't announced them. But we've got an excellent fiction series, and we've got an excellent history series from major names that you will recognize, that might even surprise you. And what we're seeking to do, from order processing to shipping to tech support, etc., etc. What we're seeking to do is we're seeking to elevate our game across the board. I know we've been terrible at a lot of things. We're still bad at certain elements, both here on Unauthorized, on Archaven in particular is just barely functional, given the you can't even subscribe to it on the site itself, but we're getting there, one step at a time. The point is not where you are today. The point is not where you are tomorrow. The point is the trajectory, and Archaven is making huge steps. I mean, look at the new ArcTunes interface is so much better than the old one. And we've got a long way to go, but we've come a long way too. Colin Cutt says, I finished Sea of Skulls yesterday. It was so good. Can't wait for more. I'm glad to hear it. I'm very happy to hear it. I'm old enough and I'm jaded enough that, I genuinely don't care about praise and compliments and that sort of thing at all anymore. I never cared that much about it, to be fair, or to be honest. But when you come in for as much criticism as I do and as I have for the past 23 years, I started writing political stuff in 2001, and that's really when I started coming in for criticism that didn't really tend to have anything to do with me. I don't like the opinion of some random guy on the internet I don't like, so I'm going to say terrible things about him. I mean, or we're going to put together a campaign and send him death threats, or we're going to try to deplatform him, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you can only take so much of that before it either breaks you and you quit, or you just, you know, totally cease to care about it. It's always kind of funny. I was talking to somebody who had come in for an amount of criticism in his industry, and he said, um, you know, I'm coming in for some criticism, and it really bothers me. How can you, you know, I just don't understand how you can take it the way that you do. And I was like, take what? He's like, well, I mean, you get criticized, right? I said, oh yeah, all the time. I said, I honestly don't even notice it now. Like it would feel strange if people weren't. You know, I mean, when I meet people, when I'm working with new people on new projects and that sort of thing, it's like, oh, by the way, um, look me up on Wikipedia, Google a bit. You'll hear all kinds of awful things, and they're like, okay. I'm I'm like, you know, most of it's not true. Some of it is. Um, if it's a problem, let me know. If it's a problem for you, let me know. I don't care at all, so don't worry about it. And it's never a problem anymore. Um, Mostly because you know it it gets a little strange when people are like, and he said this one thing about this one person you've never heard of 19 years ago. Like, what the hell, you know? Anyhow, um, and plus, the way that cancel culture is so much bigger now and better known now and absurd now that people just don't take it as seriously as they used to. You know, um, when you can get in trouble for saying, when you can supposedly get in trouble for saying a woman is not a man. I mean, who cares? You know, um, and plus, there's a certain freedom when when you, when you know that people are going to freak out because you say things like Russia is going to win the war in Ukraine, or um, hey, maybe it's a bad idea to let a million African teenagers loose on the streets of Germany. Um, I mean, it's the power of the magical word is rapidly going away. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if in 5 years, and here's another thing that people can get outraged about if they want. In 5 years, people are going to be more horrified by the Gaza cost than they are by the Holocaust. You know, nobody except for uh, boomers, churchians, and uh, you know a few Jewish and Jewish adjacent people actually give a flying fuck about what happened in Eastern Europe 70 some years ago. But they care a lot more about what happened in Gaza last weekend. You um, Shaming you for telling the truth, horrible feminine tactic to silence you. Well, the thing is that it doesn't work very well. As long as you actually tell the truth, you know, as long as you speak the truth reliably, eventually events are going to prove you right. You know, think about how retarded and think about how unprofessional all those American military talking heads look when they're like, well, I think Ukraine is going to surprise everyone with their big offensive that's going to go all the way to Moscow and cause Putin to lose power. They always say the same stupid shit. And the fact that you have a memory, the fact that you can remember the last time people were saying the same people were saying the same stupid stuff, then um, you know, you have a leg up on everybody else who either doesn't have the memory or just wasn't around, you know. And so, um, people don't like to hear the truth. I'm not saying that I'm always correct, obviously not, but I'm a lot more correct a lot more often than the mainstream media for the very simple reason that I don't I'm not being paid to lie. When you're being paid to lie, you're going to be proven wrong relatively soon. I remember Priyanix says favorite 70s sci-fi book club book was the Hugo Winners volumes 1 and 2. Hardback printed on non-archival acid paper with completely ragged foredge. I actually have those books. That book. Um, I mean, I know exactly which book you're talking about. It's I have it upstairs in the bedroom. Um, Good book. Good book. And it's actually really kind of painful to. Can you imagine? I mean, nobody reads the Hugo winners anymore. What's the point? Powers That Bear says, I'm still amazed that you were 33 in 2001. Totally confirmed. I'm sure Owen could do something with that. I'm not sure what it would prove, but I'm absolutely certain that Owen could use it to prove something. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyhow, but one thing that we're not going to do, one thing that we're definitely not going to do this year is we're not going to um, try to build that refuge from Amazon this year. Um, I mentioned this on the blog as one of the Castalia team pointed out. Um, People are worried, they are not yet panicked, and no one is going to do anything until they panic. And so what we're going to do is we're still paying attention. We're A lot of the work that we will have to do is already work that we are doing for our Castalia specific stuff. And so what we'll do is we'll wait. We'll just wait until the time is right to begin the project. You know, One of my common errors with regards to things is being too early. Now, it's not a problem being too early to see things coming, to see the trend coming, but it can be a problem if you take action too soon. And we have a lot to do. Our resources are limited, and so what we're going to do is focus on improving all of our primary projects, Castalia, traditional Castalia, library, Archhaven, unauthorized. Maybe a little bit of Infogalactic and Social Galactic around the edges. Just little stuff that will, small things that will improve the experience where we get the most bang for the buck. Like on Infogalactic, it's already running very quickly now. It's already on the new servers and so forth. What we need to do is we need to fix the updating tool that updates new stuff from Wikipedia, and we need to get rid of all those Lua error messages. Shouldn't be too difficult. We should be able to find the time to do those little things on the edges. But the main thing is just the main task for this year is going to be solidifying everything so that we're in a position to take advantage of the situation when Amazon collapses it for everyone else. On unauthorized, we need to start looking at some other ways to bring in new content. I'm actually working on that, believe it or not. Um, we're working with a soccer team, and we're doing a book project for them, and we might actually start bringing in some. Uh, we might be able to start bringing in some, uh, low level soccer stuff that might be interesting for you know 100, maybe 200 people here will be interested in watching it. Um, just that'll just be the first step to bringing in some new content that people might enjoy. The goal is uh, to gradually build this up the way that we've built up Castalia Library, and so forth. It's a little trickier when it comes to video, just because of all of the various parties involved in producing stuff and so forth. But we might be able to find a way. So um, so there's a lot of stuff that's going on. These kind of changes are difficult, but we're very, very fortunate that, number one, we have a strong community. You know, I mean, I know it's common for people to go, and you guys are the best and all this kind of stuff, but you guys literally are one of the best and strongest communities on the internet. People, people from outside, whether it's media, whether it's people who, um, you know, people who have their own communities and that sort of thing, um, from the game development world, from the writing world, you know, they always ask me, like, how do you do it? How do you do it? And my answer is always the same. Uh, it doesn't have anything to do with me per se. It the strength of the community is the community, not the one guy who it happened to originally be set up around. It's not the case anymore. Speaking of which, uh, there is a John Delarose, Mr. Fandom Pulse himself. Um, he just showed up on the unauthorized chat. How you doing, John? Good to see you. Um, but um, we're able to do these things because you guys have skin in the game. You put your money where your mouth is. You support what you love. You support what you like. And you don't waste all your time and energy and resources on the people that hate you. I mean, for me, it's very confusing that people do that, that most people do that, and they do it regularly. John says, agreed, this community just has the best people. It's very different. Well, the thing is, and this may sound strange coming from someone who is as famously arrogant as I am, but the thing is that there's not a lot of ego involved here. Plenty of arrogance, probably too much pride, but not so much ego. Maybe that's partly because we don't have a proper alpha involved. Um, but people have been predicting problems and a breakup and conflict and all this between Owen and me for years. We've never had any. John, speaking of John Delarose, John is considered to be highly contentious and has problems with everybody, according to the WorldCon people. We've literally never had an argument, John and I. Razor Fist is one of the most prickly personas on the internet. We've had occasional problems to work through that were mostly mostly the fault of me and the Castalia team just not getting stuff done the way that we needed to in time for him. But we had no problem working them out. No, I mean, we've got some new projects coming out with Razorfist that are going to be awesome. You know, you notice I don't mention Chuck Dixon because Chuck is just the legend is just a great guy, and he's super easy to get along with, and Space Bunny almost always knows when I'm talking to the legend and tells me to say hi to him, mostly because we're laughing so much. I mean, you don't work with the legend. You just have a good time going along for the ride. But Larry Dynamite Bear wants to know what is the greatest music video of all time. John De La Rose answers, Beyonce has the greatest music video of all time. Silly question. Um, I'm going to let me think about this one in terms of music videos. Um, well, okay. Uh, I would have said back, in my younger days, I would have said Duran Duran, Girls on Film, Night Edition. Um, but back in the day, um, you know, videos used to be a big enough thing that they would actually like release um, the collections of the videos that were produced as like mini movies and so forth. Um, it's kind of funny that it's come back a little bit in that you've got bands like Baby Metal that sell the DVDs of their concerts, um, and actually, sell more of those than they do of their quote unquote albums. Thriller, Thriller's got to be a contender, definitely. Um, I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to think. It's sometimes hard to switch the context like that. Um, Wax Trax always made horrible videos. Ministry never had any good videos. Um, the I mean, you've got that classic. Which song was it? I don't remember the name of the song. It was pretty funny. The um, what was it? Prodigy's was it Smack My Bitch Up? I'm not sure, but that was the video where like it's like a thug going out and just getting in a fight and drinking too much and all this stuff, and this is the twist with the girl at the end. That was pretty good. Um, was the new book announced? We haven't announced the new Castalia library book. We'll announce that very soon. We're still making our decision, but the new Castalia history book for January, February, March has been announced, and that is uh, Napoleonic Studies. Sorry, Studies in the Napoleonic Wars by Sir Charles Oman. Um, we got one vote for Gangnam Style, another one for Mexican Radio. Um, Knights of Sidonia. That's a really good suggestion from Cog of War. Muse, Knights of Sidonia. I love that video. Love that song. Um, it's kind of funny because okay, I do have an answer to my all-time favorite video, and it is definitely um, Farley Jackmaster Funk. I think it's something about "Is This Love" might be the song. So, um, that's got to be up there. Um, for reasons that some of you can probably figure out. It was kind of funny. Psychosonic actually made two videos for Welcome to My Mind. The first one was made by the guy who did Nine Inch Nails had like a whole video, which is very cool, and it was terrible. I mean, it was just awful and unreleased. We insisted that they needed to do another one, and they went off on that whole, hey, these guys are kind of cyberpunk, so let's make a video that has no life whatsoever in it. It's just all computer stuff. So, I mean, it's not good, but at least, you know, they use some of the imagery from the album covers that I'd chosen. You know, the Welcome to My Mind and the Silicon Jesus covers were both art pieces that I had found and suggested using, and Wax Tracks just went around with it. So, Information Society, Pure Energy. You know, we actually played, No Boys actually played a cover of that, which was funny because I once spent Kurt from Information Society is from New Brighton, which is my area in outside of St. Paul. He's a few years older, but we ended up getting together, and I stayed with him for a day or two in his apartment in San Francisco. We actually went out to Deviate both nights. That was kind of fun. Love Can't Turn Around by Farley Jackmaster Funk. Ironic Keyboard says, wow. Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing. That's about the only thing you can say when you see the glory and the majesty that is Farley Jackmaster Funk. So, actually, in terms of like, let me see here. I really do like the end of the Save a Prayer video by Duran Duran. Just the whole majesty of that huge edifice, that huge temple in Sri Lanka, with the way that the keyboards go a little bit discordant at the end. I really like that. The Offspring make pretty fun videos. Pretty fly for a white guy is not bad. Yeah, it's not really my thing. So, anyhow, on that note, I wish you all a good evening. Again, Castalia History, Studies in Napoleonic Wars, Sir Charles Oman. It's a fantastic book. I've actually read it twice already, and I think it's going to be a phenomenal addition to the line. No, we're still working on the Taiwan War Game review. I keep going in a little deeper and then thinking I need to stop and just do this. So we'll get that done this month for sure. Well, we definitely want to get this done before China actually takes over Taiwan and it all becomes a moot point. But in any event, have a good evening. I'm Vox Day, and this is the Darkstream.